Hello! So, We Are Who We Are has come to a close after 8 long weeks. We Are Who We Are is over. If you missed any of them, I have a playlist of all of my weekly episode commentaries. Today I'm doing a highly requested video, which is a wrap-up of the show. Sort of like my end-all, be-all thoughts and input on the show now that it's over. It's one of the best shows of the year. We've been new. If you've been here already, we've been new. But I've been struggling with like what exactly to do for this video because I feel like it was like tough for me to get my thoughts together. So I'm doing what I know best, which is ranking. So today we're going to be ranking each episode of We Are Who We Are, and as a result, talking about each of them. You get the point. Let's go. So we have this lovely ranking tier that I made with these different categories as such. I'm actually pretty proud of these. I think these are kind of funny. Okay, so on the top tier, superior tier, we have the Time Will Tell music video. Play this at my funeral, play this at my wedding, play this at my child's birth, play this at every monumental moment in my life because this is the untouchable. Next we have Fraser's fashion sense, unmatched. I definitely want to do a video ranking all of his outfits. And I also want to do one ranking the characters. So because we're going to be talking about the characters in this video, but I feel like that's too much to do in this one thing. So definitely stick around because I want to keep sort of doing We Are Who We Are Tuesdays for a while because that's when I was uploading my episode commentaries. So this will be up on a Tuesday. Hi, happy Tuesday. So yeah, if you're interested in that, subscribe, press notification bell, then you'll know whenever I upload We Are Who We Are videos, fun times. Okay, next, so the middle tier, we have Fraitlin is canon. This is such a mixed bag, the whole ending of We Are Who We Are, of what everyone feels about Fraser and Caitlin being endgame. I feel like it's so neutral. People are either really happy about it, really upset about it. So I put it in the middle, because I feel like it's an iffy discussion point. Now, the bottom two, we have Dominoes on Your Last Day in Italy. Yes. And ultimately, we have Richard's Trump hat, because... Great. Okay, so we're going to go through the episodes in order. So we're going to start with episode 1, right here, right now, number 1. Great. Okay, so this is an excellent pilot. We know this is an excellent pilot. The reviews and the feedback they got after premiere night they had like a 9 on IMDb. It was unheard of. This is an excellent pilot. I love the Fraser-centric episode. I love how they had like the first 2 episodes be like centering around the 2 protagonists. So having the Fraser-centric episode sort of introducing this world, introducing these characters, introducing these relationships, especially among Fraser and Sarah, Fraser and Maggie. I just think that Luca Guadagnino is just a brilliant filmmaker. If you're Call Me By Your Name is one of my favorite films. I just think that this show, like watching this show was like watching a painting or watching a poem. And I feel like this episode is a really good example of that because I just feel like so much of it was just going through the motions of sort of Fraser living. And I feel like all these characters felt so human because I feel like there wasn't an episode, because I feel like a lot of times there wasn't a lot of story happening, and I mean that in the best way because I really feel like we were just sort of watching these characters live their lives and discover themselves, and I don't think we've ever really seen a show do that like this show did. I just think it was so unique, such a unique perspective. So yes, excellent pilot. I think we have to put this in Time Will Tell a music video because like what a debut. Episode 2, Caitlin's episode. Things I loved about this episode, I loved seeing some of the same scenes from the first episode from Caitlin's point of view. I loved seeing that. That's a really great filmmaking trope that I like, is like swapping perspectives. I'm a big perspective person. I love perspective and playing with perspective. I think this episode did a really good job of that. I do feel like this episode was a little slow. Like I feel like I wasn't as invested in this episode. Like I've grown to love Caitlin as a character so much, but I just feel like this episode was a bit slower. I also, now that the show is over, the whole, reveal of Richard being a Trump supporter, I feel like wasn't really utilized to its greatest potential. I do recognize it as a storytelling storytelling technique to show that he is sort of narrow-minded and conservative. And so I think that was definitely why they did that reveal, and that was what that was to show, is that, like, he wouldn't be very accepting of Caitlin's whole journey. We never really saw Caitlin showcase her journey with Richard. Like, we saw his reaction to the haircut, but we never really had that conversation between Caitlin and her father of, like, how Caitlin was actually feeling, which is one of the things that makes me think that we're going to get a season 2. But I just think that was sort of a missed opportunity. I was not expecting everything to be wrapped up in a little bow at the end of this show, because that's not the kind of show that it was. Like I said, it wasn't, like, really plot heavy. It was more so just, like, watching these characters live their lives, and it's in sort of an artistic perspective, so I'm not, like, mad at it. I just feel like that was sort of, like, the big turning point of that episode, was, like, seeing that, like, that was Richard's outlook on things after we had seen him and Caitlin have, like, such a strong relationship, and being like, oh, well, that's gonna be a really, that's gonna cause a rift in their relationship, and it never really did. That's why I think, like, looking back, this episode was not really my favorite, was because of that, and sort of it was a bit slow. So I think, by no means are any of these episodes bad. Like, Richard's Trump hat as a category thing, I really don't think any episodes in these bottom 2 categories are bad. So by that being said, I'm going to put it in Dominoes on Your Last Day in Italy, because that's the sort of vibe that it gave me. Okay, episode 3! Oh my god, I love episode 3. So episode 3, episode 1, we had Fraser. Episode 2, we had Caitlin. Episode 3, we had everything coming together. They are friends. They are now a duo. And I think that worked really well. I loved the whole festival, all the drama. We have the drama with the friend group. We have the drama with Fraser's mom, which also didn't really go anywhere, because I thought there was going to be some sort of weird-ass love triangle between Jonathan and Fraser and Sarah, but that never actually happened. We get, like, the start of Maggie and Jenny. Oh my god, like, a lot happens in this episode. We get the whole fight at the end of the episode with Richard, and that sort of starts the rift between Richard and Sarah. This is just a drama-filled episode. I love it. I love the dynamics between all of the characters. I think this is such a good episode. This was my favorite episode for a while. So that, I'm going to put it at the top of Time Will Tell, a music video, because out of the 3, this is currently my favorite episode. Okay, episode 4 is my least favorite episode. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna explain myself. Episode 4 is my least favorite episode. And I feel like that is for a lot of different reasons. I feel like it was a drop in pace from the previous episode. And I feel like this kind of happened a bit throughout the show, where, like, the pace sort of wavered. I didn't really mind it, but I minded it a bit here, because I feel like a lot happened in episode 3, and then nothing happened in episode 4, in theory, right? Like, we had some substantial things. We had Fraser now being a part of the friend group, which was a bit weird, because in episode 3, they all hated him, and then all of a sudden in episode 4, he was, like, allowed to hang out with them. I don't really know what happened there. We had a lot of, like, time jumps between episodes, and then also we had the whole Craig thing of, like, Craig leaving and getting engaged to Valentina, getting married to Valentina, and, like, all of that, and, like, those were, like, substantial plot points, but those, at the end of the day, we'll talk about the whole Craig situation, but I just feel like overall nothing really happened in this episode. This was a very shock factor episode, where it was just sort of like the kiddos partying, getting high, drama. I think it's really interesting how, like, Fraser had his first kiss with Soleil, and then that was, like, never brought up again, because I feel like, you know, as far as we were concerned, that was, like, a big deal for him, because, like, in the previous episode, like, Caitlin and Fraser had been talking and how he, like, never kissed anybody, and, like, I thought that was weird. We also never saw Soleil again. She was only in that one episode. Like, we had that confrontation between Sam and Fraser, but then that also never really got resolved or, like, went anywhere because of the way the relationship, I don't know, it's like, I don't expect this show to make sense, right? I don't expect this show to make sense. I don't expect all the plot lines to sync up together, because that's not what this show is about, and I recognize that, I promise you, but, like, that being said, I just feel like this episode was the one I guess enjoyed the least, and, like, I don't know, I just feel like it didn't do a lot for me. I just feel like it didn't, like, at the end of the day, it didn't do a lot for me, and I feel like I don't know, it just didn't really advance anything. And I mean that in, like, the nicest way possible, because, like I said, I don't expect the show to be very good. Whatever. I'm putting it in Richard's Trump hat just because it's my least favorite episode, but once again, it's not bad. It's a better episode of TV than a lot of episodes of TV that I've seen in the past, you know? Okay, episode 5. Say no more. Episode 5 is the best episode. Oh my god, episode 5 is the best episode. So much happens in episode 5. Okay, we have the iconic haircut scene, which is the best scene in the whole show. I literally will not argue with you. The amount of serotonin that the haircut scene gives me. The symbolism of the haircut scene, the weight that the haircut scene has on LGBTQ plus television. Like, I'm not even kidding around. Like, just the power of the haircut scene is unmatched. That being said, we have a lot with, you know, Jenny and Maggie, that, like, whole affair gets started. So that's, like, a lot happening. We have Jonathan and Fraser. That starts that episode. I love that whole movie theater sequence. I, like, praised that a lot in my episode commentary about how good Jack's acting was in this episode. I got, like, really emotional watching the last episode with my mom, because, like, we had watched both It movies on Halloween, and she was like, he's so different in this show, and I was like, I literally feel like a proud mom watching Jack Dylan Grazer on this show, because I have been following this boy since 2017 and every single thing he has been in, and I just feel like he has grown so much as an actor, and I feel like he's so talented, and I really, really feel like he deserves an Emmy nomination for this show. Will this show get any justice for the Emmys? I fucking hope so, but I'm not gonna hold my breath, because the award shows hate art. So, you know, anyway, that tangent aside, this is the best episode by far. I still stand by that, but till the end of the show, this episode brings me so much joy, and that's really all I ask for. So, at the top of Time Will Tell music video, number 1. Okay, I feel like I need to move down episode 1 now that we're getting into the final 3, because I feel like the final 3 are like, oof. So we're actually going to move episode 1 to Fraser's fashion sense, because I feel like it's not as strong as episodes 3 and 5, and might not be as strong as some of the ones coming up. So, episode 6. Episode 6 is the big Jonathan episode. So we had a lot of Fraser in this episode. Liked that. Liked seeing Fraser. Fraser really started to grow on me in episode 5. I did not have a Jack Grazer bias going into this. I really did not like Fraser for the first sort of half of the show. I just thought, you know, like I thought he was a good character, but he's not a likable character, you know, in sort of the same way that, like, Sarah and Richard are. Like, they're both very good, well-written, well-performed characters, but they're not likable. So Fraser was sort of in that vein for me. Fraser really started to grow on me in episode 5. I did like him a lot in episode 6. He's a fool. He's a naive little fool. Like, we've been over this with the whole thing with Jonathan, how it's like Italians are just sort of naturally affectionate, and I do think he was leading him on. So I really liked their whole little date and not a date. I thought the whole karaoke scene was adorable. It brought me a lot of joy. This is also the home of the Time Will Tell music video. We've been new. This is my top tier. Nothing said. Nothing needs to be said. Sarah and Richard start to butt heads a little more. That tension starts to rise. At the end of the episode, we have that cliffhanger of the phone call about Craig. It's a great episode. It's fantastic. I'm gonna put this in Time Will Tell music video, because it has the Time Will Tell music video. So the Time Will Tell music video has to go in Time Will Tell music video. You know? Episode 7. Episode 7 is an emotional roller coaster. We Are Who We Are really said all plot, no vibes, or all vibes, no plot, and I'm okay with that. This episode was so much. It was so sad. Craig died. Everyone's emotionally sort of taking that in. I thought the scene in the gym was really, really good. We love acting. Yes, Jordan and Fran and Spencer, and just the dynamic, we love to see it. Very good scene. I just love the tensions of this. We have finally, the long-awaited trailer scene with Fraser and Jonathan. I'm very upset that my theory isn't correct, because I think that it would have made more sense with this scene. So if you watched my episode 8 commentary, you knew what my Mark theory was. I honestly kind of think my theory was better. But I was about to say I'm not a writer, but I am. But whatever, I don't write for this show, so it's literally, my opinion means nothing. But I feel like that scene, now that the show is over, doesn't really have any weight, because we don't know why he ran out like that. and I feel like my theory would have given that a reason, and so I'm sort of unhappy with that. I also feel like we sort of never got any closure with like the Sam, Brittany, Caitlin thing either, but it's an incredibly well acted episode. I would probably say that this episode has the best acting, because I just think they all brought it. Like, every single cast member brought it in this episode, because it's just like so emotionally heightened, and it's so good. So I'm gonna put this in Fraser's fashion sense as well, because I do think it's a really, really strong episode. And lastly, we have the finale, episode 8. I feel like I didn't really get to talk about the finale a lot in the way that I usually do, because of the circumstances of episode 8, how I did it with Jordan and Fran. So like I said, I was very surprised with the Mark reveal. I like it. I do like it. I think that's super interesting, and looking back, it makes a lot of sense, especially with the pilot of Fraser doing the voicemails. So, because we thought he was sending voicemails, like he was calling and nobody was picking up, and so he was sending voicemails, but he was probably actually just doing voice recordings in his phone, because Mark isn't real, and so he wasn't actually sending them, and so I think that has a lot of weight. I think that whole reveal adds so much complexity to Fraser's character, because it just shows kind of how lonely he really is, and how, like, the move now to Italy has such a different outlook, because his whole line to Sarah in the first episode was like, "You made me leave him," but she didn't, because he was never there, and I think it's just like sort of Fraser just desperate for something stable and real in that sense, where it's like he just wants something consistent in his life, and I just feel like Fraser is such a sad, lonely person, and like I mean that in the sense that it's like I just feel like Fraser is so overzealous and bold and confident in some senses, but he doesn't really know who he is, and I just think that he's so complex. I think every character in this show is incredibly, incredibly complex and incredibly real and human, which is, like I said, why I think this show is so special, because I really feel like it's just like watching life and people, and I feel like these are all people that we know. Like, does that make any sense? So I like that whole thing with Mark. I do feel like there was a little bit of something weird at the end of that scene where he was starting to say something and then he was like, never mind. I wonder if there's more to that story, or if that was just sort of like a drop-off line. I do stand by, I really do think that there is some sort of like trauma with him in the past, whether it be molestation from an older guy or something along those lines, because I just feel like some of his behavior in the previous episodes sort of is similar to like victims of that, and I don't know, that could really just be me looking way too far into it, but yeah, so that was the whole Mark thing. Luca, I know like the whole theory with Luca is that, like, Luca wasn't real either, because of, like, how he, like, sort of vanished at the end of that scene. I don't really believe that that's true. And my big, like, argument for that is the scene in the car, because the guy in the passenger seat speaks directly to Luca, and then Caitlin is also aware of Luca. So that's why I think that he is real. But in either sense, and whether he is real or not, I think that Luca sort of just symbolizes Fraser being comfortable with his sexuality and embracing his sexuality, because up to this point, like, even though he had been very infatuated with Jonathan, his whole mindset was like, I don't have to be gay just because my mom is gay, and I feel like he had a bit of like internalized homophobia, in the sense that it's like he didn't just want to embrace that and just become like his mother, because he had just such an aversion to his mother and everything, and so I think that Luca was a way of him embracing that and being like, no, like, this is who I am, and I think that was beautiful. I loved that. Loved their little dynamic. Very upset that he abandoned Caitlin at the concert. Like, and that bothers me a lot considering the ending. So let's talk about the ending. The show ends, Caitlin and Fraser kissed and happily ever after. We're supposed to assume, I would assume, that they are now, like, romantically whatever. I'm not happy about it. You probably know that I'm not happy about it, because I said, and that I said previous multiple times during the show that I didn't want that to be the ending. I would like to personally interpret it as a platonic kiss. I just think it's kind of hard to argue for that. I just think that the fact that their relationship was platonic throughout was like really important. I just feel like it like adds a lot more to them because it's like they were really tools in each other's personal journeys, and I think that making them romantically involved sort of takes away from a lot of that. But if you like them together, if that's what you were rooting for, because I know a lot of people were, then like that's totally fine. I totally respect that. I'm not like angry about it. I just like it wasn't personally what I wanted out of the ending. And going back to what I was just saying, I don't like that given that the entire episode Fraser had sort of forgotten about Caitlin and was just spending all of his time with Luca. Like, this is your best friend. Your best friend who is leaving, who is moving away tomorrow, and you might never see them again. And you don't even spend the concert with them, which is this concert that you've been planning for months. This is this band that you have an emotional attachment to as friends together. And like that just really rubbed the wrong way with me that they ended the show like that, given that there was no sort of reconciliation or conversation about why maybe he had done that, if there was a reason why. If it was like, oh, well, I just don't want to face the fact that you're leaving, and maybe if I don't treat it like that, then I won't have to confront it. You know, it's like that could have been an explanation, but we never had that conversation. And so I don't like the way that it ended, given how the rest of the episode had gone, because I really did feel like it was out of nowhere. I feel like it would have been more built up had they done more things in that episode. I understand that it was sort of built up in other episodes, but I feel like to end it that way, they would needed to do more in that episode to sort of stabilize their relationship. That being said, I'm putting this in Fraitlin as canon because I love this episode, but I do feel like there are sort of a lot of sort of you know, like, so that's why I'm putting in the category, because I don't know. So that being said, the show is over. As far as I was concerned, it was a limited series. As far as anyone is concerned, it is. There have been talks for season 2. Like, I know, like, Lucas said he, like, worked on a script during quarantine or something. I wanted to wait until the show was over to sort of give my input on that. I really did want to see how it ends, because a lot of times with limited series, like, for example, like Big Little Lies, like, that was a limited series, and then they ended up doing a second season because of how it ended, and I actually didn't really like the second season. So, of course, my biggest fear is that they would do a second season and have it not be good, like, to put it as plainly as I possibly can, to have it not be good. However, I do think there are so many open questions given how this show ended. First of all, none of the other characters were in this episode except for really Fraser and Caitlin. Brittany was at the beginning of the episode. She and Caitlin kissed. I really love that. I want them to explore that. Like, genuinely speaking, like, I know we've been joking about like #Fraitlin, but like actually I would really want them to explore that sort of dynamic, and I want to see more of Brittany as well, because I think that like her approach to like love and relationships is very interesting and whatever. And, you know, we got flashes of Caitlin's family at the start of Richard and Jenny and Danny, but nobody's storyline got resolved. We didn't see a conclusion with Jenny and Maggie. They just sort of broke things off, and that was it, and Maggie supposedly is now back with Sarah, and that's all well and fun, but they were having a lot of issues, and there was a lot of communication problems that we never got a conclusion to. Fraser and Sarah have they still have so much to talk about and resolve there. I really think we need to discover like the root of their dynamic and why Sarah allows him to sort of act that way, because like we know Fraser sort of acts out because of his resentment towards his mother about like the lack of male influence in his life, like he said in episode 8, but I really do think that there's a lot more to it than that. So I think Fraser, and then like with Fraser and Maggie, like why isn't Maggie being treated like a mother to Fraser when she's been with Sarah since before he was born? Like what caused that rift between Sarah and Maggie and everybody else as a result, because Sarah saw her that way and caused everyone else to do so as well. You know, with Danny and Valentina, that was sort of a last minute thing where it seems like now they are together, resulting in Craig's death. I feel like there's a lot more to explore there. There's a lot more to explore with now Sam and Brittany, because Sam, you know, made a move on Caitlin in episode 7, and Brittany made a move on Caitlin in episode 8 as well. But it's like, as far as we were concerned, they were together and they were in love, and like what sort of happened there? Are they still together? Are they, what's gonna happen? Ultimately, the Poitras are leaving, leaving. They were going to Japan, they were going to Chicago. Like, if they're leaving, then what's going to happen? Are they going to have to come back for some reason for them to do a second season? Are Caitlin and Fraser together? Did they run off together? Clearly Caitlin missed her flight because, like, they were in Bologna past sunrise. So, like, what happened there? Like, Richard was calling Caitlin, what is on the other side of this? Like, what do they think happened? Do they think something bad happened to her? And ultimately, is Caitlin going to fully embrace Harper to everyone in her life? Like, is her father, are her parents going to find out that Caitlin doesn't want to be a girl or wants to, you know, be gender fluid? We don't really know the label that Caitlin is going with, whether Caitlin wants to be Harper, wants to be a boy, or whether Caitlin is still Caitlin, and sort of just wants to be fluid in gender, which I think is more so what they were going for, but we don't really know. I have so many questions, and I think that a lot of you guys who also watch the show also have so many questions, and so for that reason, like, I feel like the ending didn't satisfy me, and I'm so sort of wishy-washy about the last episode, because while it was such a good episode, I feel like it wasn't the end of this series. It didn't feel like the end of the series to me, and I feel like for that reason, I would very much be open to a second season because of just all of the questions that we have. That being said, though, I also wouldn't be surprised if we didn't, because like I said, that's sort of how Luca, that's what his artistry is. Like, he's just sort of a poetic filmmaker, and we're not necessarily supposed to know the answers to all these questions, and that's okay if that's the case, because this is not a normal show. This is not, you know, I feel like this is something that is just so much more than television, and that makes me sound pretentious, but like, it just, the show was a work of art. I really think it was, and I could not recommend this show enough to anybody who hasn't seen it. I just think there are so many important subjects and so many realms that they explored in this show that no teen show has done before to this extent, and I think that is really, really commendable and so unique, and I think this show deserves so much more recognition than it has gotten, and I think that's because, I've said this before, because it has been still airing. I think now the show is over, a lot more people will sort of get HBO trials and watch the whole thing, and I think we'll start to see it pick up in popularity. With all my gripes and notes that I had, I just think the show is an absolute gift. I'm so glad that I had the pleasure to watch it. I'm so glad that I was so integrated into its release as I was with my sort of involvement with the cast and the events that I got to attend as a result. Like, I'm so thankful for this show. This show has done so much for my channel. You know, like, I gotten so many new subscribers and viewers and such because of my weekly commentaries. Like, that means so much to me. Like, never in the past have I really had like a video that I'm like, well, I know people are gonna watch this. You know, like, I've never really had that. More so from just like, I was so glad that you guys like cared what I thought, to the point where like members of the cast cared what I thought. Like, it just, this whole show has this show means a lot to me, both in like the actual show and just just these past couple months and like the process of the show coming out. And like I said, I don't know, I'm very, very thankful for all of you who watch these videos. Like I said, I want to keep doing We Are Who We Are Tuesdays for a bit, because I, you know, as long as I can keep it going. Like, you know, a bit means just like, as long as I have ideas, I want to upload We Are Who We Are videos on Tuesdays. So yeah, I don't know, sorry to get sappy and whatever, but like, thank you so much for watching my We Are Who We Are series. It has technically now come to an end. I feel like this is like the final video. But so like I said, I loved doing these commentaries. I really want to do weekly commentaries for Shameless season 11, because it's the final season and it's coming out this December, and that's my favorite long-running show. I don't know whether I'm going to do it on this channel or on my second channel. I've also been considering doing a Bly Manor commentary on my second channel, because I've seen it once, but I feel like I want to kind of watch it again, and I have a lot to say about it, and I would like to do like a commentary series. But I don't know, like, commentary, this stuff takes a lot of work, right? Because like, if you're doing a video for every episode, like, it's a lot of editing. This series specifically was like a lot of work because I was consistently getting them up on Tuesdays, so I had like an evening to film and then a day to edit it, upload it, put it all together, and so it was a lot of work, but like, I really enjoyed it because I knew like you guys would watch it and like it, and that was like really cool. So I don't know, let me know. Give me all your thoughts in the description, whether it be about, you know, my other ideas or what you thought about the show. Give me your episode ranking, anything you want. Boost my engagement. It helps me out. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this video. Comment, like, and subscribe. Press the notification bell because I don't have an uploading schedule, although we're going to try to do. We are videos every Tuesday, so that's somewhat of a schedule. Subscribe to my second channel, Alina Waffle. I have 2 videos on there so far, Coraline commentary and an Among Us video that I did with my group chat, including Chloe and Jordan, so you should definitely watch that. Links in the description for ways you can help with Black Lives Matter, as well as my social media, Instagram and TikTok is edward.spaghedward, website, merch, all that stuff. This is my really great dinner. I love you all. Thanks for coming over.